Hi, my name's Lou, welcome to my channel, and in this week's video I'm going to be showing you how I made this skirt. This is a green satin half circle skirt. It was quite simple to make and I didn't use a pattern, I drafted my own. I'm going to show you how to do that for yourself, and I'm going to show you the steps like putting the waistband on, and I've put in a concealed zip on the back. So I'm going to show you how I did that too. Now, I wasn't planning to make a skirt. If you'll see my autumn wardrobe, you will know that I decided I needed some more bottoms in my life, and so I decided to make a nice pair of trousers. And I really got stuck on the idea of doing them in like a forest green, and then could I find the fabric? I ordered some samples from online and none of them were quite right. Found some gorgeous stuff, but yeah, couldn't afford the price when I worked out how much I'd actually need. Some beautiful wool crepe. Looked around all the fabric shops in Edinburgh and found the right colour but not the right fabric, and the right fabric but not the right colour. And then I was on a trip to visit my mum and dad and went to Dainty Supplies in Washington, which mainly does bridal fabrics, but it does some other things too. And found this. Now what I actually saw was this was on the roll, the inside. And I thought, oh, that's perfect, that's just what I want. And then I flipped it over and went, oh, okay. So, changed my plans there and then, decided a skirt would do instead. So I made this. I made it on the day of Edinburgh Frocktails, which was a get-together of people from around Scotland who make their own clothes, and nothing like a bit of pressure. I was really pleased I got it finished in time, but I did have a backup plan in case I didn't. And I've got a few other occasions I'm going to wear this to as well. But I'm really hoping that I don't just save it for best. I want to be able to kind of put it on with a big jumper and a coat and my Doc Martens and wear it out around Edinburgh as well. So yeah, that's the plan with this. So yeah, on with the making and I'll show you what I did. So I'm going to work out the pattern for my skirt here, and it's really simple. All you need to know is your waist measurement really. So a circle skirt is, as the name would suggest, made out of a circle of fabric, a bit neater than the one I've just drawn. And you cut a hole on the inside, and this is where your waist goes, and the rest is the skirt. Hem it at the bottom, put a waistband on. Simple. You'll probably need some way of getting into it. So you can create a little slit and then add a seam and put a zip in. Now today I'm going to make a half circle skirt, which is very similar, but it doesn't have quite the amount of fabric in it. So a half circle skirt, the pattern for it looks like half a donut. That's it. And again, a bit neater than I've drawn it there. Now, for the circle skirt, you want the circumference of the circle to be the same as the circumference of your waist. So if you can remember that far back, in maths, the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, where r is the radius from the centre of the circle to the circumference. And if your waist, like mine, is 85 centimetres, then r is 85 divided by 2 pi, which equals, hang on, look at it on here, approximately 13.54. We'll put 13.5. Now if you're making a half circle skirt, you'd think, oh well, that's the same radius, except it's not, because this needs to go all the way around your waist. So the length of this needs to be the same as the length of that. So in that case, we've got our radius here. There's our radius, and that's what we need to know. And then this is 85. So imagine it went all the way around. So it'd say 2 pi r equals, oh, twice 85. So all we should need to do is double what we've got before. That should give us 27. So 27 centimetres here, and however long we want the skirt to be here. And I'm going to just use as much fabric as I've got to make the skirt. So I'm only going to make a quarter of the pattern, so I'm going to put a fold line along here. There we go, so that I can fold the fabric and cut that. I'm going to add a little bit of a seam allowance onto the waist and onto the side. There we go, a waist seam allowance there, seam allowance there. Oops. And I usually leave 1.5 centimetres for that. The fabric is laid out as flat and smoothly as I can get it, and I am aware that it looks in this position very much like a snooker table. But this is my pattern that I've cut out to my measurements, and I'm going to pin this to the fabric, making sure that this edge here is right on this fold. So I've cut a piece of interfacing, double the width I want the waistband to be, and then I've cut a strip of my fabric 1.5 centimetres on each side, wider than that, and I'm going to iron the interfacing onto the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to use my overlocker to go over all of the raw edges that are going to be on the inside of my garment. I'm going to do that first before I start doing anything else, but I'm just going to test the machine out on this little bit of fabric first, just to make sure it's working all right. And you can see it's slightly pulled, so it looks like I'm going to have to adjust the tension and see if I can get it nice and flat, because I don't want it pulling at the fabric. Okay, that looks a lot happier. Still a little bit puckered, but nothing that the iron won't fix. Now I'm going to move on and do the waistband. So now I've overlocked all of the edges of my skirt, and I'm going to start. The first thing I'm going to do is put in the zip. This is an invisible zip or a concealed zip, and when it's finished you shouldn't be able to see it apart from the head of the zip. So what it's got is got the teeth, and they're kind of curled over, and we're going to have to place this on and sew right down the gap there where the teeth curl over. So in order to do that, I've got a special foot. This is mine, and it's an invisible zip foot. Can you see that? So there's a couple of methods for inserting a zip like this, and the most usual one is to just place each side on and sew down it, and then finish the back seam. But I've found that there's another method which I find is a little bit easier and gives you a cleaner result. So I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in like a long running stitch down here where I want the zip to be, and then leave. I'm not going to take it all the way down. I'm going to leave a couple of inches at the bottom, and then I'm going to start and sew my proper back seam. So I'm going to go back and forwards, reinforce it, and sew the rest of the seam the way that I want it, and then I'm going to iron it in place. So I'm going to iron the seam allowance flat like that. So I've been sewing the back seam up from the hem towards the top, and just the normal stitch, and this is the point where I've marked where my zip is going to start. So I'm going to sew up to there, and I'm going to reinforce it, and then I'm going to make my stitch really long, and I'm going to sew a basting stitch the rest of the way. So now I'm going to iron this. I'm going to iron it flat, and then that crease mark that I've got down there is going to help me get the zip in exactly the right place. So now I can position my zip in place, and I'm going to pin it just to the just to the seam allowance. So yeah, as I'm going, I'm trying to make sure that the centre of the zip and the centre of my seam line up perfectly on both sides. I'm putting in some stitches to stitch the zipper tape onto the seam allowance. This isn't quite stitching the zip in place just yet, it's just holding it in the right place so that when I come to do the invisible zip bit of the invisible zip, it'll all be in the right place. It won't move. So I'm using the zipper foot, but I'm not sewing close to the zip. Not sewing that close to the zip, and I'm not sewing close to the head of the zip either. I'm just avoiding that for now. So now the thing to do is to take out all of these long stitches that I put in here. So I'm going to be very careful because the satin will pull really easily. So now pull the head of the zip all the way down. So you open it all of the way. And then you make sure that the zip goes underneath. So you pull the head of the zip underneath there and out through here. And it takes a little bit of fiddling to get it through. There it is. There we go. So I've pulled it all the way through. So now I'm going to stitch right in this bit here. You see the teeth of the zipper curl over. So you've got to kind of push it open and then stitch right in there, right up next to the teeth. So then you simply reach through the zip and find the head, and you pull that back through and all the way up, and then this is what it looks like on the other side. And if you do have any gapping areas like that, then you can go back and try and sew a bit closer to the teeth, but it's not looking too bad. Now I've pinned the waistband right sides together with the top of the skirt all the way around. I've left a little bit on this side to make a little button, kind of placket, very good word. And then, yeah, that side I've just left enough to turn as a seam allowance. And right, I'm going to sew this all the way around. I've tried to distribute the skirt as evenly as possible around the waistband, so hopefully shouldn't end up with more fabric at the front than at the back. So now I've sewn the waistband on all the way around on the one side, and then I managed to lose my seam allowance on this side, so I obviously didn't gather the fabric in properly, but I've just tried it on. It looks fine, so I'm going to leave it as it is. What you do now is you fold this bit down like this, so there's 1.5 centimeters there, and then you just stitch up here, turn it through, and then we do a similar thing on this side, but this side I've left a lot more fabric. So this one we turn it over like this, and we stitch along and up, or along and up, like an L shape, along there and there, and then this will give us a little tab on the end that we can attach a button to. So this is that corner sewn, and you just take your fabric and just pop the corner through like that. Now I'm I've ironed the express fabric in the waistband upwards, and then this goes down like that, and then we're going to hem along here. You can, if you want to, turn all this inside and hand stitch it if you want to, if you like that look. There's a fair bit of fabric in here, it's a bit bulky, so it's a good idea to give it a trim before finishing it off. And I'm not going to finish it like that because I do find it a bit bulky. And I hate hand sewing, so I'm going to fold this bit out of the way and put in a few stitches to keep it nice and neat, and then I'm going to turn it over and stitch right in the seam there. It's called stitching in the ditch. And then because this is nice and flat on the other side, you'll just have a nice line of stitches there, and then you've got the overlocked edge there, so it'll be nice and neat on the inside. And then this is the other side. It's very similar, but there's like a little L-shaped tab on there, and when you turn it through, you end up with like a wee square tab on the end there, like that. And again, there's loads of fabric, excess fabric in there, so you'll get a much neater finish if you give that all a good trim and crop the corners, clip the corners before you turn it through. So let's do that now. And clip the corner, make sure not to go through your stitching. There we go. There we go. That should be better. There we go. So we've got our zip there, and that finishes there, and then we just lay that down there, so there's a little bit of a fold there. So now I've turned all of the waistband to the inside, and I've pinned it, and I've put the pins on the outside so that I can stitch and see this seam. And I'm going to kind of pull it apart slightly as I go, making sure each stitch lands exactly in that seam line, so that you won't be able to see them at all on the finished garment. So now this is done, the waistband's done, it needs pressing, but this is what it looks like on the inside and the outside. So now all that's left to do is to hem. So I'm just going to fold it over the width of the overlocker stitching, so I get a nice even hem all the way around, very narrow hem, and then I'm going to turn it over again, pin it and stitch it all the way around, and that should be it. I should just be able to press it and go out and wear it. Oh, I've got to put either a button or hook and eye on, haven't quite decided yet. Hook and eye it is. So thanks very much for watching. If you've got any comments or questions, then please leave them down below. If you like this, then please press the like. If you would like to see more videos like this, then please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye!